Hey, what is up, guys? What's up, comic book fam? Raven here, and we're gonna talk about another comics. This is gonna be another comic book review. This time, another trade paperback, a Batman trade paperback. Of course, you probably know that from the title. This is gonna be this this beautiful cover here, the Batman Dark Knight Volume 4 Clay. So, of course, this is Batman the Dark Knight. Clay collected editions from issues number 22 to 29 of the New 52. Of course, you got Greg Hurwitz, Alex Maleev, Alberto Ponticelli, and Ethan Van Sciver. I hope I pronounced them correctly. Of course, in the back we know their works, right? So, like for example, Alex Maleev working on Daredevil. We've got Hurwitz working on Wolverine, and many, many more. So, as you probably figure out, this is a Clay story, right? And to be fair, when you open up the book, when you open the first pages, you're welcome to, honestly, a really unique art style. And there we go. As you can see, right, it's a really unique art. It's definitely a bit different from the previous trade paperback that we've done here. Definitely a bit different, as you can see, right over here. And honestly, it's dark, it's grim. I like it. I do honestly like this art style. I like the choice they've went with, and I like the artist they actually chose for. It suits the character. I don't say it suits all of the Batman characters, right? Because I don't want to see that in the Riddler story. I don't want to see that art for the Joker story. But for the Clay itself and for this portrayal of Gotham, yeah, it does work, and it does work quite well. So definitely, thumbs up from me for that. But let's just jump right into the story. So this is, of course, the continuation of the Penguin, right? So we've done the review last week. Of course, it's going to be the last of 52 for a while, because I don't own other volumes, so I have to go and purchase them. But yeah, that's going to be in the future. Steve Corner happened. There are, other things coming to me, so yeah. Not necessarily, but, again, it does happen. So, first of all, when I saw, let's just go like that. When I saw this here, I was like, oh, this is going to be such a cool panel. This panel actually is not happening in the book, just so you know. Okay, so as I said, we got the story of a Clay, and Clayface is the character that definitely, was not my favorite, right? We got some stories, later on that in the New Rebirth that kind of, make him a mech type of character. Then he joins, Batman. He's a good character now in the comics. But here we've got him as this really grim, gory character, and we learn what drives him, which is quite interesting, to see the mentality of Clayface, to see everything, what he stands for. Because to be honest, I think this is the best origin story of the Clayface. Yes, you heard me right. This is literally the origin story of the Clayface here. Not in the because the action, he's already established character here, but we learn from what he says about his past, in kind of the same way as we've learned about the Mad Hatter in the previous episode, right? And it's a really interesting way of narrating it and just telling the past of the character by themselves. So you never know that is it actually the truth or not. Here we kind of know it is the truth because of the situation and circumstances. So we started off quite easily. We have a James Gordon, right? We got a beautiful art over here on the cover, right here, right? We got a breaking point, and we got James Gordon coming in, hot and like, another one. Let's just say they will release the guys, they will release the hostages. I'm gonna go in, and he goes in and he starts shooting people. When I saw that, I was like, yes, Gordon snapped. I love it. I honestly loved it. The art style, those are those panels, right? The gory panels right here. I said I love it. I was already hooked in the book. I was like, yes, that is good. And of course, we got his beautiful shooting scenes here. And as it moves on, we got Batman just flying in. Beautiful 2-page. Just slapping literally slapping James Gordon, and so as you can see, it was never a Gordon, it was actually a Clayface, and that just sets the tone for the whole book, that he can change to everyone, right? And this is beautiful. So of course you got a quick battle in between of course Batman and the Clayface, and Clayface changes suddenly into Natalia. As we know, she was Bruce's girlfriend, you know, she died. Mad Hatter threw her onto the bat signal. So Batman Sam's like, Natalia, no! Right, like, it's morning, it's not perfect Batman, it's not perfect Batman voice. Yeah. So he stops, he gets smashed by Clayface, and Clayface escapes. Now the question is, who told that Clayface, right? So he goes, you know, from person to person. He goes straight to Mad Hatter, right? Of course, you know, as we know, Mad Hatter can't tell him. He's like, okay. But also, if that was not Jim has to be somewhere. And we see that Jim actually is being held hostage, right, in one of the buildings. And one of those buildings does have, conveniently, an old bat signal. So Jim tries, you know, on his chair, just snaps out of the ropes, you know, that were tying him, and just launches the bat signal. Batman knows now where he is. He saves Jim Gordon. Like, I mean, again, that's oversimplification a bit, but that's kind of right. He saves him. He destroys the bat signal, so no one knows, no one can use it. And we see the crowd actually like, there was a bat signal, I saw that. And of course, you know, Clayface is nowhere to be seen in the building, but we got a really cool shot, and like, it's a really cool panel when we see Clayface in the crowd actually being a elderly woman, which is really, really cool thing. I'm gonna try to find that shot. There we go. He is a woman. Of course, he's carrying a bag of money, and then he just slowly changes back to his old self. Really, if that would be, you know, a first issue, because that is the issue number 22 of the Dark Knight, and if that would be, you know, the first issue I would read, I was like, yes, that's a really good story. I'm hooked. I want to see other 5 issues of that, 5 to 6 issues of that story. It is really, really good, and the opening is amazing. So we move on. Of course, you probably noticed that those have 2 colors, right? So those are 2 separate stories. So again, Clayface kind of finishes in the middle, by the way, just so you know. So of course, you know, we move on, and now we know Batman's on the hunt for Clayface. So in the past, he caught him in this, like, you know, a chamber, this like nice square that, if it's not obstructed by anything, if it's a perfect square, and, you know, there's no a corner, just like a tiny millimeter on, you know, on a rock or something, that's a chamber that he can't escape, because all he needs is a just slight, you know, space. Of course, the first time Batman can't do it, right? He can't do it. Second time, he does the job, and that's, you know, kind of the middle of that story. And I was like, okay, well, he's caught. That's it, you know. We know that as well. Clayface was killing, you know, his own henchmen just for fun, you know, just for laughs. And then, you know, we move on to, of course, prison. Right, we go to Arkham, and he has his own cell, of course, in this fantastic cube that it's a blue. And, well, you know, the quite an interesting part is that we now learn that he was an actor. He really was an actor, and actually, one of his fans, which probably is his biggest fan, is cell next to him. And they start chatting, and they start talking, and by this interaction, we slowly start to learn about the origins of the Clayface, why he was the way he was. And honestly, you know, I started really feeling empathy. I was like, wow, that is another kind of similar story to the Mad Hatter, but it's a really heavy story, you know. And I was like, well, yeah, like, many people can actually feel the same way. So, of course, the story of the Clayface is that he was an invincible kid. Coming in with explanation. So, he just showcases, like, you know, different, like he says, jocks, cheerleaders, you know. He says even nerds got bullied, right? And me, I was just there. No one cared, no one said hello, no one did nothing. He was just like a shadow going through. And he was coming from a poor family, so we learned that his mother, had a bit of money aside. Now, it was not much, so he was like, you know what? I'm gonna get myself a jacket, maybe a glasses like, this characters in the movies, and people will notice me. So he does that. He barely can afford the jacket. He steals the glasses, and we have this really cool scene when he goes in to let me just open on that. When he goes to school for the first time. There it is. I've got it. When he goes with his brand new jacket straight to school, right over here, right? This is his new, brand new, fresh look. And no one notices him. So we got him back to his sad state. So he goes out, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna try some additions to the theater, to the movies. I'm gonna try to be that. But during all of the auditions, no one cares. No one really cares about him. So again, they're like, yeah, thank you. Next, right? He knows he can't get it. So he meets the penguin, and the penguin has this really interesting box that it looks like a box of clay that he can just sniff and become unstable, and he can become whoever he wants to, right? So we got this really big battle in his mind, like, oh, should I do it, should I not, like, what's gonna happen? We've got, of course, Penguin just being like, oh, you're my henchman, go for it, no, do it, you're gonna owe me, right? So he sniffs that, he becomes the Clayface, but because he can still control his body, he can still control the way he transforms, so he is stable for the time. He becomes a star. He really becomes a movie star that everyone loves. And we've got this is the sniffing part, and he goes, he changes, like, I won't be ignored anymore, right? Like, he can change the shapes. People love him, directors love him. He is, literally, we got him, just partying. He has his own star on the boulevard, all of that stuff. But with time, he becomes more and more unstable. He can't become stable for longer than 15, 20, 30 minutes, which means he's turning back to the big Clayface, which ruins his career. And now, well, he seeks vengeance on people. He seeks vengeance, of course, onto Penguin, onto others, and that was around few weeks when he was chatting with his friend near his cell. But suddenly his friend dies. We see his hand laying, they're getting him. Then Clayface remembers, like, okay, I'm an actor, I can fake my own death. So he fakes his own death. They enter his cube, and as they were closing the cube, he just leaves a bit of space open. Clayface just gets the space open, escapes. And now we've got a really pissed off Clayface. So Batman has no idea where the Clayface went. Of course, the option would be theaters. Let's search for all the theaters. But I'm alone. Kind of, that's true. So now we have a moment where Alfred says, well, Master Bruce, are there any people you didn't pissed off lately? And there actually are two. There is a Black Canary. And there is, let me remind myself, because I keep forgetting, I genuinely keep forgetting about the second person, which is Condor. Right, this is the beautiful panel, right? We got a Condor, we got a Black Canary. So he sends them locations, and Batman also goes and scatters for locations. And now we learned a bit more. We have first also maybe not an introduction, but definitely a nice moment in between Clayface and the Joker. So we go back to the past. Of course, Clayface tells the story that he, at one point, purchased a laughing gas from the Joker, which is the beautiful panel here, right over there. Bam! Wait, this one, right over here. Purchased laughing gas from him that is not supposed to kill people, but it's supposed to keep them alive so he can perform and they can laugh, they can still be entertained. Of course, he also is using a bit of poison ivy's thing, so they are still alive. as they are scattering to locations, Clayface captured a bunch of people, got them to the theater, and he is performing, right? They are all hooked, you know, there are everything hooked to their veins, and he is performing his roles, right? He's doing, you know, his famous roles that he said, "I not transform," like the same in a way as he was doing it to, of course, his friend in the cell. So everyone searches, where is Clayface? Where is Clayface? And there's one last location. That location, of course, Batman is the one who searches for it, and he just goes straight for the Clayface. He knows he needs to act fast. He knows he has to do a lot of stuff. We have a brief fight here. It's not the best fight, but we got a brief fight. You know, they fight on the ceiling, and then, well, kind of in an, I wouldn't say an homage, but like kind of like in a Killing Joke, where you got Clayface just dropping to the big container with chemicals, right? And, you know, he becomes one of those chemicals as Batman slowly helps the people, right? Those are the people, they are laughing, so that's before Batman came in. So Batman slowly helps the people, Black Canary as well, Condor, they're all there, and well, that is kind of the story right here, right? We see him actually dropping, right? That's the drop. But as you can see, everything is really grim. So that is the last page of the story. He is right now in this brand new cell, and he's not gonna escape anywhere. So, of course, I'm gonna move on to the second part, no worries. But I just want to say, for what it is, art is great, the story is really grim, and if you can pick only the Clayface story and not pick the rest, do it. I think it's a solid 8 for me for the Clayface, for his origin. You know what, no, let's go 7, just because I think there were a few minor annoying things. So, for example, how he knew about Natalia, his interactions with Penguin, I think they could have been a bit better. His origin story, I would like to see, you know, him digging there a bit more, but also I would really like to see, you know, I think it's going to be a 2-part video, by the way. I really like to see him just having this battle with Batman a bit more significant, or just like, the problem is it all came back to status quo. Like, nothing has changed, right, since the beginning of the story and the end, and that is a bit my problem with Batman in general right now, and the more I read, the more I kind of like see that crack. So hopefully, you know, we'll maybe, you know, see in the future state kind of changing that, but this coming back to status quo is a bit annoying. But hey, it was a cool story. Now we got a cool origin story of this villain, and I think that was the New 52 in general, just telling those origin stories or retelling them again. So this is a solid 7 out of 10. So if you can get, you know, the Clayface story, sure. Of course, there's still half of the book, and half of the book I'm gonna review like literally right after. Like, it's gonna be 2-part video. It's gonna be uploaded probably tomorrow, and the reason to it is that I don't want to get a bit deeper into the second part, and it's already like 20 minutes long, so I don't want to keep you here. So if you can get, because those are around 6 volumes, right? So if you can get Batman from 22 to 27, right, because that's a Clayface story, do it. It's going to be worth it, and it's definitely better than the Mad Hatter that I gave 5, and definitely it is better than the King Penguin, which I don't remember if I reviewed. If I didn't, I'm gonna have to. I think I did. So it's definitely better, and it honestly elevated Clayface for me personally in the Rogues Gallery, you might say. Of course, then Rebirth kind of, you know, like plummeted it. It's Thumb King, you son of a gun. Of course, again, joking. But I think that is the great story. The art is good, you know, how grim it is, how really, you know, I'm like, I hope, you know, they would explore a bit more also with him changing its form. So I thought it was going to be Batman vs. Batman kind of deal, right? So when the Canary's going to come and, you know, and Condor, they'll be like, oh, which one is Batman? could have been a really cool moment. So a bit few missed opportunities, that's why the 7, and I hope you would agree with me on this first half, right? So on this whole story of the Clayface. And well, in the next video we're gonna move on to the rest of the book. So we're gonna move to the Voiceless and to the Man-Bat. So thank you guys so much for watching. Goodbye, good night, have a fantastic rest of the day. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more comic books from Comic Book Raven and or RavenCalledSnejku. Take care, bye, love ya.